You thought I was going to talk about the future of knowledge work. Why are we looking at a bunch of stones? To understand the future of knowledge work, we need to understand the past and the present and the patterns of the knowledge work. Let's look at another stone. It's not kryptonite. The stone is from a site in Africa's Rift Valley, the cradle of modern human evolution. It was made about 3.3 million years ago, and the theory goes something like this. When in Africa's Rift Valley, huge climate changes happened, to survive, the earliest humans, or human species, started producing some knowledge to create tools so that they can diversify their food, basically hunt and eat meat. Because due to the climate changes, the vegetation in the Africa's Rift Valley, the theory goes, has disappeared in various times. So therefore, they thought about producing tools to survive. So one of the key patterns of knowledge work, going back 3 million years ago, is first thing, to survive. That's one of the core factors. Let's go to that. That picture is Africa's Rift Valley near Kenya. And that picture doesn't need introduction. It's International Space Station. It's epitome of human knowledge work. So how did we reach from there to there? To build International Space Station, it requires, or it didn't require just knowledge. It required 3 core components: the creation of knowledge, sharing of knowledge, and application of knowledge. All 3 core components. A number of people came together and collaborated to build that. It's the largest artificial object in Earth's orbit, and it's habitable. And you have seen in the recent news, people lived there for over a year. So how did this happen? Space agencies from around the world, organizations and people around the world shared and collaborated, shared their knowledge to create that epitome of human knowledge. NASA, Roscosmos, Russian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, and the Japanese Space Agency. These huge organizations are involved and share knowledge on the day-to-day basis and the technology on the day-to-day basis, and created that. Let's go back again. That doesn't need introduction either. It's China Wall, of course. They didn't build the China Wall in a year. China Wall was built for about 2,000 years, starting in 7th century BC until around 300 years ago. Well, then why are we talking about walls? So the China stopped building that wall 300 years ago. And some people want to build walls now. There are 2 things happening: the presidential election in the United States and the Brexit here. Let's not go into that. But some people are talking about building walls today. We are in knowledge economy. And building walls is not the answer. It's collaboration. It's unification of knowledge. It's sharing of knowledge that is going to create jobs, that is going to create the future of knowledge work. So it's important to understand the characteristics of knowledge. Peter Drucker, whom I believe the greatest management guru of 20th century, he wrote a couple of books, The Landmarks of Tomorrow, and introduced the word knowledge work. And he defined various characteristics of knowledge work 60 years ago. Not now, it's a buzzword with every consultancy company, but he introduced the word knowledge work 60 years ago in his work. And he said, one of the key characteristics of knowledge work and knowledge economies is borderlessness. Knowledge moves freely, whether you want it or not. And it will move fastly today because of the technologies and technological revolution we have. So, not building walls, it's building collaborations, another key characteristics of future of the knowledge work. Let's look at how knowledge economies were created. One of the first knowledge economies is Great Britain. What made Britain great was the Industrial Revolution that happened in these very lands. The Greater Manchester. The Textile Revolution sown the seeds for the Industrial Revolution, and it happened here. It happened because of education, because of training, and because of innovation. Those are the things that created millions of jobs, not the walls. Those are the things that education, the technological innovation which made steam engines, which made those textile mills, those formed the seeds of today's economies we live in. And those are the ones that created millions of jobs and made the Great Britain that is today. I grew up in South India, a remote village in southern India. And a lot of people today talk about a lot of jobs going into China, Mexico, many other places. And a lot of people talk about them transforming, these countries transforming into knowledge economies. When I was growing up, it wasn't a knowledge economy. In my village, more than 80% of the people basically lived on agriculture or allied work, manual labor. Around the age of 9 or 10, children, including I, we used to work on the fields probably around 6 o'clock in the morning, pack the bags around 9, go to school, come back, go back to the fields, work again, and that went on for years. That went for probably 20 years. Most of my childhood and a lot of people I knew, the children, spent time like that. And we used to hate summer holidays because you need to go back and work during the summer holidays. What changed that? What changed that, a predominantly agricultural villages, into the knowledge economies of today? I recently visited my home city, or nearby my village, that's Hyderabad. That's a financial district. Most of the villages disappeared. And that's one of the buildings near the district. It consumed the whole village, a single building. About 10,000 people worked there in a single building. It's Tata Aerospace Center. And what changed from agro-based economy into the knowledge economy in those villages was simply education. During late 90s, millions of people, I can only talk in the context of India because I grew up there, millions of people were there with degrees, not many jobs, decent degrees. And what made the difference was those degrees. And the root of IT jobs and these knowledge-based jobs was in Y2K problem and the internet revolution. What happened during late 90s was people, IT companies, corporations across the world required hundreds and thousands of programmers pretty quickly to write the code, to write the HTML web pages in those days, because a lot of automation did not exist. So they required these thousands of programmers, and these thousands and thousands of people with these degrees in history, law, computing, business, anybody. So all of these young people were going and getting trained, called crash courses in HTML, crash courses in Java, 18 hours a day sometimes, these crash courses. They got trained and they started coding. And that's how the IT revolution happened there. Not because somebody decided to send the jobs there. So the degrees, the education were critical. Without education, I couldn't have made it, and a lot of friends who grew up with me couldn't have made it. So when somebody tells you, well, you don't need a degree because that guy became a billionaire without a degree. Yeah, but how many people without degrees became billionaires? Okay, so people talk about Microsoft, Bill Gates became a billionaire, but he dropped out of Harvard. People talk about founders of Google dropping out. They dropped out of PhD degree. They had degrees from Stanford prior to that. Okay, so if somebody tells you in today's world the degree is not that much worth, they're fooling themselves. It's the education and the degree level education that made the difference in those areas. So, while most of the world in late 90s was reading that, people around my villages were reading that. Okay, that's how it happened. Okay, so I know that because during those years, around late 90s, after my degree, I used to work for Tata McGraw-Hill, a publishing company. We used to sell books. Okay, people couldn't get hold of these books, Java programming, so the photocopiers were running day and night to produce these books in the black market. Okay, so every house you visited had these books on programming. They still has. So that's how it happened. So it's important to understand the nature of the knowledge work and the components of it. The core components I discussed earlier, which are creation, application, and sharing of knowledge, are absolutely critical. The another feature of knowledge work is the connectedness of today's global economy. That's the picture of the human travel, air and sea travel and other forms of travel. Could you actually unpick it now? Could you actually stop that and expect the future is going to be in a disconnected world? Okay, so that's key. The future is in the connected world, and it needs to go forward rather than back to the dark ages of disconnected world. On the economy itself, yes, there are a lot of problems in terms of connected world, but if you look at 2,000 years of economic cycles, the first 1,000 years, the red one, you could see, is China, and the brown one is India. So India and China combinedly for the first 1,000 years, between year 1 to year 1,000, constituted nearly 80% of the world economy for 1,000 years. Even until 17th century, the Chinese and Indian economies dominated for various factors. What changed in 17th and 18th century is knowledge, education, and innovation, the technological innovation that changed everything. Not building walls, not coming out of unions. Actually, it's collaboration, it's innovation, and it's technology that changed all of that. So going forward, where is our future? Where is our future of knowledge work? It's again in innovation and technology and educating our young in a better way, in much more richer way, making them curious. So, the technology and innovation are another factors which are going to make the difference in terms of the future of knowledge work. The information technology obviously is going to be backbone of the future of knowledge work, because without that, the collaboration, the innovation is not going to happen. So, to summarize, the future of knowledge work, the creation, sharing, and application of it will depend on the curiosity, education, collaboration, knowledge sharing, and the technological innovation. The future of knowledge work it's not in building silos. It's not coming out of unions. It is getting together. It is in collaborating, it is in sharing, and it is in the unions of knowledge. Thank you.